It has been way too long. New song. Poem time, la-di-da-da-da-da-da, poem time. Hopefully the poems are better than the song. How did that go? La-di-da-di-dum-dum-dum-dum. I don't know. Poem time. Okay. The Zippermouth Prince. Once there was an ungrateful boy who demanded things like sweets and toys. His mother, the queen, gave him what he asked to avoid all tantrums and aftermaths. The ungrateful boy, he had a name. Prince Zak was it, and he could blame the sun, the stars, his mom, his dad, for all the things he wished he had. But truth is, he had everything. Toys that bopped and whirred and zinged. He even wore a diamond ring. He was a prince, a demanding one too, until one day the king said, "That's enough, I am through." Well, you know what, I have a beard, I should go get it. Our son, he blames the seas, the stars, he blames the horses, he blames my cigars. I'll teach him a lesson if he keeps on complaining. He's spoiled and rotten, it's incredibly draining. The queen simply smiled and she nodded her head, then left to tuck Zacky up in his bed. The next day was just like all of the others. Zak was rude to his father, not so nice to his mother. He wanted the latest, the newest, the brightest. His sheets were the softest and always the whitest. And when that wouldn't do, when it wasn't enough, his mom would just give him more and more stuff. One year for his birthday, Zak was given a boat. He never rode it. It stayed in the moat. After a week, he said, "Nah, it's no fun. I want a newer, better one." And more his mom would bring him toys that bopped and whirred and zinged, candy, chocolates, bubble gum, but nothing ever pleased her son. So she bought Prince Zak a giant slide, an air balloon for private rides, a clown for juggling, new trees for climbing, and one sad chap who was supposed to be miming, which, if you don't know, requires precision and timing. But this didn't please Zak. He wanted more. "I want the sea, I want the shore, I even want the ocean floor, and I deserve it because I'm Prince Zak." The king almost had a heart attack. "The ocean floor," exclaimed his dad. "This isn't good, it's gotten bad. Our son's growing up, he'll be a teen. Do something, you're his mother, the queen." But the queen, of course, was in total denial. She'd say, "That's our son," with a whimper and smile. So Prince Zak did what he pleased all day and always got his way. Soon the days had turned to years, solidifying the king's worst fears. "Prince Zak, he has no discipline. You can hear him complain at the drop of a pin. My patience, it is wearing thin." The king was embarrassed, ashamed of his son. A prince like this should not be the one to lead all the people to inherit the crown. Sorry about my beard. Imagine what people are thinking in town. The queen said, "I know, it's utterly shaming. But isn't it you now who's continually blaming?" The king, he nodded. "I suppose that's true, but I'm at a loss of what to do. How do we teach him to treat others kind?" The king rose from his throne when a thought came to mind. The king's eyes widened. He clutched the queen. "Perhaps what I'm thinking is rather extreme. We'll send him far away from here, give him a taste of fright and fear, then we'll search for him after a year, or 2 or 3, it all depends, when Zak grows up and this behavior ends." The queen was worried. "It might not work, but we have to do it because our son's a jerk." So they sent Prince Zak out to the forest, where people were needy and hungry, the poorest. They dropped him off and hoped nature would teach him, because obviously nothing they did could reach him. As luck would have it, Zak met a witch who liked to sew and craft and stitch. And despite her provisions, meaning a bed and some food, Zak wasn't gracious. In fact, he was rude. "What is this? You call this soup? It tastes like eggs and monkey poop." The witch, she smiled. "Oh, do you think?" She stirred the pot and gave a wink. "How was your nap? Did you like your bed? Did you get to rest your weary head?" "About my bed," Prince Zak suggested. "It's rather hard. I'm not well rested. The blanket's rough and it's much too itchy. I couldn't sleep because I felt too twitchy. Maybe you ought to go into town and buy me a mattress made of down." The witch just listened and shook her head. She reached for the spices and they all turned to thread. I'm not sure, boy, if you know, but I'm a witch who likes to sew, and poof, a frog hopped from the pond, her ladle turned into a wand. You've been in my hovel not even a week. Perhaps you should think before you speak. You insult my bed, you critique my soup. Then she grabbed some thread and made a loop, then with sounds of clips and snips and zips, she put her finger to her lips. Oh, fairest, fairest of these lands, she reached out with her bony hands. I'm not evil, but here's my confession. The prince right here, he needs a lesson. The roof exploded from the shack, and guess what happened to Prince Zak? His mouth, it narrowed, it turned thin, and something happened from within. Slowly stitches formed their way across his lips. He tried to say, "Help!" and "Stop!" but it was no use. He couldn't even drink his juice. "My," she cackled, "how divine! I don't like boys who act out of line, so I sewed upon your ungrateful face 2 stitched up lips with a zipper in place." Prince Zak wanted to scream. He wanted to scold her. If he had lips, he sure would have told her, "You're in trouble. You're fired. Time for a beheading." And to think it was all about some soup and some bedding. The prince grabbed the blanket and headed out for the hills, ignoring the cold and sleeping through chills. Day after day, his lips didn't stir. They barely could move. He couldn't even say burr. Soon came the snow and the ice and the rain. The prince spoke not a word. He never complained. Over time, he grew stronger, more noble, more quiet. And having zips for your lips is sure quite a diet. But the prince became someone so handsome and sure, it's almost without words his thoughts became pure. He walked and he hiked, enjoying nature and trees. He swam in the lakes and he traveled the seas. And as opposed to complaining, he spent time admiring. He saw beauty in people, found nature inspiring, and the distance he traveled. I wish I had a map. Was really quite tiring. Then one day, resting by a brook, he peeked through trees and caught a look from a beautiful princess, a beautiful girl with long flowing locks that were perfectly curled, and he watched her drink water and frolic and play, and he wanted to speak in the most incredible way. And with each word of kindness he thought to say, his stitches slowly went away. They popped and pulled, and in one quick zip, he felt a tingle in his lip. As fate would have it, his words came out mumbled. His tongue tripped on his teeth, and it all came out jumbled. He cleared his throat and he tried to speak, but it all came out, but his words came out in a high-pitched squeak. The kind princess smiled and said, "Here, take my hand. You don't have to speak, but because I understand." And in that brief little moment, the spell was completed. The stitch from the witch, the stitch of the witch, and her curse was defeated. The king and the queen were truly in awe. Prince Zak had grown so they couldn't believe what they saw. Zak soon ruled the kingdom, a proud, noble king, not much for jewels or for other fine things. He said, "Get out in nature, go travel, make art." He was a fair king who ruled with his heart, but mostly King Zak always thought before speaking to avoid any unwanted zippers or squeaking. Well, that's the Zippermouth Prince. And I'm Abby, your friend Abby, and I enjoy writing poems for you, and I'm sharing them as of late. So I think I have a YouTube channel. I'm also on Instagram at your_friend_Abby, and maybe one day I'll start drawing pictures for that or something. We'll see. Or someone will. Have a good evening. I hope you are well. Or a good day, depending on when this is. Bye-bye.